Hello, everyone. This is your video to kind of help explain financial reports that were sent to you and to prepare you for the meeting tomorrow. This report that we're talking about first, it's a 6-month report. According to my last video, I mentioned about health issues. Feeling good. Uh, Everything is fine. So I appreciate your prayers and I believe God's healing in my body. So looking at the second and third quarter report, starting at the very top, I got a couple the words good attached to church donation and fundraising income. Very good. Going down the list, you can look at everything yourself, but I'm just paying attention to the accounts that stand out. The grant expense, that's 5001. It's over 100%, 121% of expense. We're no longer paying this writer for grants. We feel like what we received uh, does not, I'm looking up here real quick, what we received does not, uh, see, grant. I don't even see grant income, 14,000, which 10,000 came in on our own efforts. So here is 9,000 in expense. We were paying 500 per center to him and not going to do it anymore. It just it seemed like it was always going to pan out, but it did not. Hard decision. I think one of the centers are retaining him on their own, and that's fine. It'll show up here grant expense, but it won't be this high number. So we're no longer paying him for grant writing for every center. We're going a couple different routes. Also, on the aquaponics project, I believe I'm going to talk with the leader there and just say would take this uh, off of our books as a project or as something that we measure. He has people working there. There is a future event that may be in the same area, and that would be kind of like a farmer's market where people are coming in to sell things. We get a portion, and this would be pulled into that. So we might rename uh, this next year to something different. But this is a bad number. It's not even doesn't help us at all. It's not usable. Uh, the big one this 6 months is the purchase of a house that Grace House is now living in Lebanon. Of course, you can see this 713%, way over 100%. It is a good thing. So the house was not did not have to go through a bank. We were able to pay it in full, and then we're raising money to replace that back into our savings. It's not something that we just purchase and say uh, no one has to raise the money. They need to raise the money to pay state back for this monies, and that is in the process of happening. Andy will talk more about that. This was the decision between Refuge and Andy for them to purchase this house. We had an agreement. The money has to be raised by June, and at the end of June, whatever is left, starting in July, it'd be 10,000 a month from Refuge, 5,000 from Grace House to repay the remainder of the loan. The office expense 7011. This is my bad decision. Uh, I wished it turned out differently, but if you remember, we had two development people that came in to one of our meetings, and one of the things that they needed was contacts of who was giving on their separate center accounts. Bloomerang does not allow us to add people that can only see certain centers donors. It's everything or nothing. And we felt uncomfortable for developers who are trying to raise money in their own area seeing donors that are given to other areas. We just was not happy with that. So I must have had a bad mental day. I decided that we would buy each one of them a copy of our Bloomerang, and then I took out the centers that did not apply to that person. For instance, one of them was just working with refuge. So one of the Bloomerangs only had refuge data, and the other one had uh, Terre Haute, Fort Wayne, and Grace House. Well, neither one of them were used. And I sent information out how to use them and so forth. They were not used. These cost right at $3,000 per software package. Bad decision. This is my decision that I thought would be useful. We are sending every center every month people who give, so they have a database. It's on the spreadsheet. It's not the best, but this was not used. So this was a $6,000 bad decision on my part, and I own it. Bad. You can say bad when we meet on Tuesday. Uh, Bank service charge, it's just increasing. So that's all I can say about that. When I come up with this budget, it is based on the previous year's expenses. So obviously they raised their rates, and we'll have to increase that budget on our next thing. So when I look at the very bottom of this 6 month process, it shows a negative income of 145,000. If we consider we paid a little over, we paid around 225,000 for the house and things that had to be done to the house, we would really have a net, if that were paid, of about $75,000 for the 6 month. So that's just some numbers for us to consider. We didn't really just lose that money. It was something that we purchased that we're working at uh, being put back into the coffers. So year-to-date numbers, you have those. The only ones I've highlighted were some of the same ones, the canceled grant writer and the aquaponics project and Grace House, the building project. Uh, Along with, I do have auto maintenance is bad. I'm not sure if we can do anything about that. That does include, when I see 33,000 is what was paid, 27 was the budget. That does include the uh, the new license tags, the new license and tags for all the different cars, and that was uh, processed in January. So if we go for another month in our budget, this may, a year to date, this may kind of come back into where it should be. So I put bad on there, but it may not be that bad. Again, bank charge increasing next budget. And so you can see different budgets of the balance sheet, just the different things that we're accumulating and totaling and so forth. Uh, that's really all I have for the financial information. When we meet, which, by the way, remember we're meeting at, where are we meeting? At Olive Garden. And I've talked to them about how loud it is and so forth. And they're putting us in the back of the room instead of in that little open area room that I had mentioned. Uh, I will talk again with them tomorrow, determining which place would be best for us, but we're going to give it a shot. To tell you the truth, if prices keep going up, then we'll look at just having a meeting at a particular church or something, and we'll bring in food. It's a little extra work, but we'll do what we need to do to make things right, and so we can hear each other, but also be fed and blessed. So tomorrow at 2 o'clock at Olive Garden on Michigan Road, You've all received the address and a map and so forth. Andy will be giving us a full report of the different centers, and there's quite a few things to talk about. There's some changes taking place. Uh, I don't want to say anything up front. I want to give Andy the full report of mentioning these things. He is becoming the president. He wants to as soon as possible. He has to have his uh, pastoral license from the Assemblies of God. I think that can happen if I get verified that he has passed his test and will be recognized next year as being as passing the test and becoming a licensed minister. We'll go ahead and process him as president, but that has to be first according to our bylines. There's some issues with some staff members that he will go over. Um, I'll just leave it at that for right now. Things are good in different places. Things are struggling in some. So it's a challenge. Teen challenges, the name of it. We all have issues in our businesses, but we'll hear some things tomorrow. There's some good potential things coming up, and there's some that we just have to walk through issues. But I believe all of them are viable. I believe there is a place of ministry and patience, faith in the Lord, and we need to use some wisdom. That's why you're with us. And I think these next few meetings in this month, we will be looking at moving the board transition into one that Andy can use. By the way, tomorrow there'll be a visitor, Zach Zimmerman. Some of you have met him. He's going to be there tomorrow. I've interviewed him and welcomed him. He's going to share his heart and why he loves the ministry and why he would like to be on the board. He's a good friend of Andy's, and he's a participator and a giver. So he'll be there tomorrow. Eventually, we're going to have a few more joining that Andy would like to work with, and you'll hear about those as we go. So if you have any questions, give me a call, 765-336-1300. You've got my contact information. You'll have a full packet tomorrow. And most of the time we'll be eating and hearing from Andy and hearing from Zach. And then we'll dismiss those two and we'll have a short meeting with some other thoughts that we need to go over. And that should be it. We'll come out there with the spicy breath of the Italian people, and you have to have a breath mint to go out of the building, but it's going to be good. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless.